Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Pacheco.
I'm Negro Noir.
I'm Tristan Jones.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome.
Spanish. I was speaking Spanish.
Okay.
You know, noir is French for black, right?
Right.
So I'm black. Black.
God.
So
Justin,
welcome.
start this shit.
Yeah, let me get it going here. So we're already off the rails, but welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss season 3, episode 8, the season finale of The Boys. Episode titled, these titles are always tough, The Instant White Hot Wild, which I don't have any idea what that means. I know it's a reference from the comics, but anyway, there we go. So before we go, break it down, let's get everybody's reactions overall for the finale. Brittany, what did you think about the finale?
So first off, Justin, just want to give a shout out to Drew in the live chat. Appreciate you being here. Also want to give a shout out to Tristan, Frank's buddy. Also a fellow boys. I was going to say boys lover. That was going to sound really, really bad. My bad.
The Boys.
The Boys. TV show fan. Let's put it that way. So we welcome Tristan to the show. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on this finale as well as overall season. But overall thoughts on this finale from me personally, man, what a way to end this season. Definite twists and turns. I wrote it in our little post about sparks will fly, because we did see a lot of sparks, not in the romantic sense, y'all, not at all. But it was a great episode overall. A lot to unpack. I was very, very pleased with everything that came in this finale. Frank, what were your thoughts on the show?
It was one of those finales where it was jaw dropping. Everything I predicted was wrong. But now for two years straight now, I'm always concerned about them throwing out so much content, but they just keep proving me wrong by creating more innovative content for this storyline. What else can be said about this show, man? Like, this is, Jensen said last week, this is the best show on TV right now, and I don't think it's close.
I agree.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, I second it. I absolutely think The Boys is the best show on television, right there with Succession. I think The Boys, Succession, and Barry are like the holy trinity of TV shows right now. The finale, I thought the finale was perfect in the way that, most finales like kind of end a story. And I thought the finale for season 3 enhanced the story and also showed us where the story was going in season 4. Like, I didn't need a bunch of people to die, you know what I'm saying? But I do want to be able to look at a finale and say, okay, I know season 4, okay, this is what the landscape of the show of that particular universe is going to look like. I know what The Boys, that particular faction is going to be. I think I know where Homelander and his son are going to go. I think I know where, spoiler alert, like Maeve is going to go. Like, so I thought the finale was perfect in that it set up season 4 beautifully, but also still gave us enough action that we can kind of linger on that finale in this season as a whole. So I loved it.
Yeah, I think that it was like the perfect cap for like an incredible season of superhero content. Honestly, I think that, if you've listened to the show recently, especially last week, all my predictions were completely wrong. I was totally wrong. And I was fine with that, except for one thing that I think happened in the show that I think shouldn't have happened. And I'm not sure that, okay, I'll just put it this way. I think that the Soldier Boy being Homelander's dad, I wish that everyone didn't know that in the final episode. I wish that like the characters kind of found out in that moment. I think that would have, they made it work because the show is so good and the writers are so good at telling the story. And it wasn't like it was bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that would have had a bigger impact on the characters if in that final battle scene they learned that, oh man, like Homelander is his dad, or Soldier Boy is Homelander's dad. What do y'all think about that? Is that something that y'all thought about, or Brittany, what do you think?
Personally for me, I thought it was a little weird how in conversation between Butcher and Huey was like, where's Soldier Boy? He's like, oh, you mean after he told us that Homelander's his son? I mean, that did sound a little odd. The way that Maeve and and everyone else found out from Huey was kind of like, that was the reaction I think we all were like looking for and hoping for when they, everyone else heard the news. But I see the point about waiting until, I guess you could say, the last possible moment with that showdown between Homelander, Soldier Boy, Butcher, and then with Maeve as well. That would have been like, whoa, now we're not sure what's really going to happen here, because like Maeve said, are they going to fucking kill each other, or are they going to hug? Because that, it could have gone either way, and it almost looked like it was going to go soft, where Soldier Boy was going to embrace Homelander as his child, and even his grandson Ryan was in the room too. So it's just kind of like, oh, this is not going to be good. He's totally going to switch sides. But then Soldier Boy said what he said to Homelander about being weak and like a sniveling like little pussy or whatever, and just basically saying like, you're a disappointment. Right. Echoing what Soldier Boy's father said about him. So I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like how even though I think we wanted things to turn out, it's still, the message was still received, right? And it still ended up turning into like a great showdown. Frank.
I had no problems with him finding out prior. I think the reason I say that, because I like how he kind of contemplated what to do the last episode and a half. Of like, should I embrace him as my son? Should I kill this guy? It's like, and Ackles, he's such a great actor, and like see him weigh the options the last, I guess, episode or so, or whether or not to bring him in and let him have the forefront of the stardom of being the guy or killing him. So because like I had no idea how it was going to go in the final showdown, and I think him going back and forth with that prior to the showdown gave it a little bit more, I guess, of a pregnant pause, a climax, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did it well. For my personal taste, I just wish it would have been like this big reveal at the end. Tristan, what do you think about that?
For me, I think I see how it would have been probably a little bit more climatic if we found out in the finale, but finding out in the penultimate episode, to me at least, gave the finale more weight, like in anticipation. It's like, what's going to happen? The same kind of conflict that Brittany brought up is like, okay, are they going to, is finding out that Homelander is his son, is that going to change the dynamic between Homelander and Soldier Boy, or is it only going to? I'm cynical, so I thought that it wouldn't change anything. I thought that there are no happy endings in this show, so
right.
I thought that it was definitely going to lead to more conflict because everybody involved has daddy issues. Honestly, in the show, but definitely within the Soldier Boy, Homelander, and Ryan dynamic. So. It didn't ruin anything for me. Like I said, if anything, it made me anticipate the finale more. And if Soldier Boy would have lived, it would have given more weight to season 4. Or Soldier Boy's alive, but if he would have not been put on ice, it would have given a lot more levity to season 4. So I was cool with it.
I think the thing that we learn is they did do a good job of we found out that everyone basically knew about Soldier Boy being Homelander's dad throughout the episode. And, several times they showed Butcher convincing Soldier Boy, hey, you got to go through with this. Homelander's not really your son. You've got to kill him. You have to hold up your end of the deal. And then lo and behold, it's Soldier Boy does hold up his end of the deal. And it's Butcher who kind of, he doesn't want to kill Ryan. So my thing is like, and that Butcher made a mistake. Don't y'all think? He had the chance to take out Homelander, and now that chance is gone.
Yes and no. I mean, yeah, I think ultimately in order to accomplish his goal of having Soldier Boy to use him as the ultimate weapon to take out Homelander, either depower him or to just kill him, that was a poor decision. But Butcher's ultimate reason is a promise that he made to Becca as she was dying, which, you know, some people can feel one way or another about it, and that's fine. But for Butcher, he knew he was a shitty person, or rather he knows he's a shitty person. He always felt that he wasn't going to be a good father, and that's kind of why he pushed Ryan away earlier on in this season. And so even though he did all that, he still wanted to protect Ryan in his own sort of way. But did you notice the dynamic change where with the end of season 2, you know, Ryan like latched on a Butcher pretty quickly at the very end, whereas at the end of this season we saw Ryan latch onto Homelander very quickly, and it was just very disturbing, very just startling in general. It's like Ryan's lost at this point. But going back to your question, Tristan, do you think that Butcher made a mistake in protecting Ryan or not?
I think that's a natural part of Butcher's arc. When you say like Ryan's lost, Homelander's lost, Butcher's lost. They're all lost in some type of way, especially in relation to like their fathers or their dads. Like I said, it fits Butcher's arc because Butcher, as we've known through 3 seasons, has always lived on the edge. He's always been the by any means necessary guy. And what we start to see slowly towards the second half of season 3 was him realizing that he can't be that much to the edge, and there are other things to live for outside of whatever the mission is. And he's been all about the mission pretty much since he left home, going back to the flashback. So him protecting Ryan, Frank and I were just talking about this the other day. Like Butcher can only be so much on the edge, right? And every character on every show that is expected to be some type of protagonist, they have to come back from the edge at some point, right? If Butcher would have let Ryan be harmed, he would have been so far beyond like just the natural progression of his arc that it would not have been believable. Yeah. So like he had to do that because even Butcher has like that 5% of good in him, and he used it on Ryan pretty much outside of like any other part of his life.
Frank, what do you think about that?
No, I think he did the right thing. I think the previous episode where is it Mind Reader, that villain that put him under?
Mindstorm was the name.
Mindstorm. So I think that episode was a prelude to the finale in terms of you see in depth of why Butcher the way he is, and the incredible guilt that he carried along with going to the army and leaving Lenny behind. Lenny committed suicide. That, to me, that scene or that episode showed you that there has to be a different avenue for him to come back to where he's always been. And you know, when the show started, and you know, Frenchie and Mother's Milk and all these guys, there was so much collateral damage of all the missions they have been doing. And I think for his character arc, like Tristan is saying, there has to be somewhere, there has to be a climax or a turning point for him. And I think him remembering what happened to Lenny and his own little way saving Huey. If he doesn't save Ryan, then it's just same old Butcher. And at that point, he's eroding as a character. And I don't think, for the sake of the storyline, you don't want that for Butcher. There has to be a turning point to where he sees more than the mission. And I think Ryan is that walking reminder, the remix version of Lenny and Huey.
I think that's well put. And Justin, to kind of further the point, as Drew put out, if Butcher had taken out Homelander, there'd be no season 4.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't want to lose any of these characters because I love this show. But I mean, at certain points, you know, you lead up to like something's got to give, you know, and it seemed like this was a perfect chance for, like, obviously Butcher didn't expect for Ryan to be there, and that kind of threw a monkey wrench into everything. But I mean, I totally get it. Like, you know, you got to keep the story going. It makes sense for Butcher's character arc. That totally makes sense. I just think that in the moment, it's like, man, this is what you've been building up to. This is your one chance. And the idea also that I like the idea of maybe they don't kill Homelander, but maybe they depower him. Because what would Homelander be like as depowered? Now, granted, they might just depower him and then kill him because he'll just be a human being. But I would like to see that story play out some way, because I think with him without his power, that's like an old Superman storyline that happens in every kind of form of Superman. Is there's always a part where he loses his powers, and how does he deal with that? I think it'd be interesting for the like kind of evil Superman, or the, the definitely not the Christopher Reeve Superman to lose his power. How does he get his power back? Does he get his power back? How does he adjust to that? That just seemed like an interesting idea that maybe wasn't going to happen this season, or maybe it'll never happen, but it's something that I had in mind that I think would be kind of a cool thing to see. But that's just my thoughts on that. What do y'all think about, to me, one of the most shocking moments in this episode was Black Noir's death. Not so much that he died, because I thought he might die like in the, in some kind of final battle, but the way he died, I was pretty shocked by that. I did not see that coming. As like I said last week, I predicted that Black Noir would make it to next season, because we'd have like a Batman versus Superman, with Black Noir being Batman and Homelander being Superman. Somehow they were going to take out Soldier Boy and make it to season 4. But Black Noir only made it through half the episode. Was that a surprising death to y'all?
The death, the way he died, for sure. I struggle with this, man, because Black Noir is such an obscure character, and we didn't, outside of maybe 2 short fighting scenes with Camiko and I think a terrorist, I haven't really seen his full assortment of skills and what he can do. And I was hoping to at least get a showdown, with Soldier Boy. Because like the episode prior, how they were setting up the Looney Tunes characters, trying to work up his confidence to face his fears, and fight the guy that had been bullying him throughout his whole career. I was hoping to at least see that, and if Soldier Boy would have killed him, I would have been fine with that. But yeah, I was very surprised how he went out. Tristan, what do you think?
I was not surprised at all. I made 2 predictions before the finale on deaths. I said either Maeve was going to go bye-bye or she would actually kill either Soldier Boy or Homelander, and I definitely thought Black Noir was dying because of in the penultimate episode of the kind of ramping up that his psyche basically was doing to fight Soldier Boy. Usually when somebody gets gassed up to fight an unstoppable force, they usually lose that fight. So I thought that I did not see Homelander killing him, but I think it's poetic that basically Black Noir has been under 2 team leads, right? He's been under Soldier Boy and he's been under Homelander.
Yeah.
Homelander, he had the closer relationship. I've theorized because he can't speak, and Homelander has no reason to treat him badly because he can't speak, he can't talk back. Right. So I think it is poetic that he was killed by the team leader that he followed more, that he felt a little bit more comfortable with, in preparation for the one that he was absolutely going to lose to anyway. So yeah. I definitely thought Black Noir's death was coming. I just thought it would be at the hands of Soldier Boy instead of Homelander.
And Black Noir kind of was like a big brother character for Homelander. He kind of was like the guy, because of Stan Edgar, who was kind of watching over Homelander. So that, as you could tell, when Noir left in the last episode, or maybe it's 2 episodes ago, that hurt Homelander. And then so when Noir came back, he was excited to see him, but then he knew that he knew obviously about Soldier Boy. Brittany, did the death of Black Noir surprise you, or how it happened?
I was 100% surprised, for sure, because we've made predictions before. I was pretty adamant that Maeve and Frenchie were going to be the ones to go out this season for various reasons. It never really occurred to me that Black Noir could have potentially been on the chopping block. I was hoping, like Tristan said earlier, there's really no happy endings for anyone. I mean, one could argue that maybe Maeve has a happy ending in a fashion, but with Black Noir, because of the fact that it seemed He ran away from his problems. He was counseled by his imaginary friends. He came back. He's like, yeah, I'm going to get back with, the rest of the seven, or at least Homelander, and we're going to take on Soldier Boy. And that went sideways really quickly because obviously he knew information that was important to Homelander, and Homelander felt betrayed. The very fact, and this was literally my first thought, was not only was Black Noir killed very gruesome, with the intestines like spilling out of him and what have you. I know John, my husband, was watching it with me, and he's like, he's not dead. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he's dead. I don't know how you recover from that. But I thought to myself, like, the very fact that Homelander killed his own kind, okay, because he's kind of big about that, about sticking together with your own kind. It's us versus them kind of thing. But he was betrayed, quote unquote, by his own kind. And then he goes and later on says to A-Train, how could you kill your own kind? And then A-Train's kind of like, the fuck, like, you just looking at Noir's mask, like, you did the same fucking shit. Like, what difference does it make? So it's the very fact that we see that Homelander is literally capable of anything. It doesn't matter who you are, super not, you get on his bad side, and you're potentially going to be taken out of this world. But the way that Black Noir went out, I was actually really sad by it. I'm like, no, he deserved more. I don't know why he deserves more, but he does. And
especially like to see the Looney Tune kind of characters, like they're there, like, bidding a farewell to him, basically. So since the finale, Eric Kripke, the showrunner, he's done a lot of press. And I've been reading and watching YouTube videos about what he's been saying. And so I might as well just talk about this now. So Black Noir, the current version, is dead, but Black Noir is a mantle that can be passed on. And I believe there's going to be a Black Noir next season. And it's probably going to be played by the same guy, because the guy who's been playing Black Noir since the first season, we've never seen his face. Mm-hmm. We only saw the flashback, that different actor playing the character in the flashback. So the guy, I don't know his last name, Irving something was the guy who died, but we're gonna have another Black Noir, it sounds like. So
all right.
I did see that. I saw that interview that the showrunner did. Can I say something real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Just jump in. We're talking about Black Noir and like these imaginary like Looney Tunes characters. When I was watching that in the episode 7, like, got me thinking, like, the real true story about the boys is like what happened to them when they were all kids. Like, all of them are dealing with and coping with the trauma that came from either just like poor childhood, or the childhood that they had to like kind of manipulate having the superpowers. Like in the last episode when Black Noir is in his cabin, and the Looney Tunes characters are talking about him. They kind of run through all these different things that he did. Like, oh yeah, when that time you impaled that kid, or whatever, paralyzed the kid. Like, there's all these little side things that just kind of get swept aside because they're superheroes, basically. So like, I'm very interested in like understanding every superhero's like backstory. Like, what was Black Noir like as a kid? We know what Homelander, his life was like as a kid. We know what Starlight, the different things that she had to overcome and go through as a kid. A-Train, like everything, like the true story is like what happened to them either before they got their powers, or like when they were kids and they got those powers. Like, I'll be interested in seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, even like Soldier Boy, we found out his backstory, that the fact that, his Captain America kind of upbringing, or, humble beginnings weren't so humble. His dad was a rich businessman, and he was his father thought he was a disappointment, and then he gets part of these compound V trials, and he becomes the strongest man in the world, and still his dad doesn't approve, thinks he took the easy way out. But that's a really good point, because you're right, every single character has had some kind of trauma early on that's led him to here. And it would be interesting to find out if there was like one, like maybe the Deep. I mean, the Deep is kind of a comedic character. Maybe he had like kind of a normal upbringing, and then just one day they gave him a shot at the doctor's office, and he became, this like dime store version of Aquaman. I don't know, But you're right. All the other characters are definitely, they've had all these issues, and that's really interesting to play off. And one thing great about this season, not that the other seasons weren't great, but this season really made every character feel important. And they kept that going throughout every episode up until the finale, where, in the past, like, it's Homelander focus, it's Butcher focus, but this season, every character had the spotlight on them, and you had a feeling for every character. And with that, I want to talk about Camiko a little bit, because her acting in this season, for a character who does not speak, that actress, she's so impressive with the expressions on her face and the way she does her sign language. It's so impressive that she's like,
it's very passionate.
Right. It's like, I don't know sign language, but like, you can kind of understand what she's, like, gesturing or, trying to communicate to people. And I think that character, like, not that the character wasn't interesting in seasons 1 and 2, but that character definitely, like, peaked this season, in my opinion.
Well, and that's what happens when you have good writers and you have a good character arc and story development. I know Frank is probably dying to talk about Kimiko because he just loves Karen Fukuhara, with I think maybe a fiery passion at this point. I don't know. But the fact that yes, you're right. For a non-speaking character to still convey emotion, and you feel her pain, you feel her willingness to get the compound V again so that she can protect those that she loves. And much like with Noir, you felt at least I did. You could feel for Noir when he ran away, when he found out that Soldier Boy was back, and just having to kind of fight within himself about standing up to Soldier Boy to take him out. I mean, you can kind of feel that internal battle, because that's something that everyone, I think, can relate to in one fashion or another. Frank, talk about Karen. I know how much you love her.
I think the writing for Karen was 100 out of 100. Given that the climate of women's rights in this country, and it being synonymous with her story arc, like when we see her in season 1 and season 2, we talk about the internment camp that she was in, and how she was forced to be given these powers, and didn't have an option. Her and her brother didn't have an option in the matter at all. And her saying that, I want these powers to protect my family, the right to choose. That really, Kripke and those guys did a great job of really like taking the temperature of this country and like putting it in the show with Kimiko's character, because giving her the right to choose to get the compound V for the second time and protect her family, Frenchie and the boys, that held so much weight with me, and be able to convey that with no words, just strictly emotion. The text message, seeing her talking to Starlight, begging her to get the compound V, and like, it was just, that was exquisite acting to the fullest. And to be able to convey that with just sign language and facial expressions it's touching. It really is.
And in turn, her kind of pleading to Frenchie while he's, doing lines in the bathroom. She's pretty much trying to snap him out of it and be like, listen, like, we've got a job to do, get your shit together. And, he tried to help her when she was down after, her brother and that kind of thing, and it went sideways, and he was mad that he couldn't communicate with her. You don't teach me the sign language, whatever. And so she made adjustments. Now she wants to help him and save him. And she told him, like, I look at you and I see mon coeur, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. It's so sweet. They're going to fall in love and have like these adorable babies and live in Marseille, hopefully. But she's phenomenal. I think the whole casting, acting wise, everyone in this show is phenomenal. And I just couldn't be happier with with everything that we've seen thus far.
So Tristan, what are your thoughts on Camiko, her season, and maybe what do you see for her in the future?
So I thought Camiko was and is super important. I thought actually she was going to be like the Arya Stark of the finale. I thought she was going to come in and she was going to be the one to either kill Soldier Boy or depower Homelander. Because I think the storyline is building towards her being like at least one of the primary saviors of the show, or just of that group. I love Camiko. I love the differentiation of her character. Like, we have a character, like I say, who doesn't speak. We have a character who is who's foreign, who has this story with Compound V, which is completely different from everybody else. It wasn't like she wasn't being paraded around as a child. Like, she was being used as a pawn of war, basically. So her perspective about being a Supe is much different than everybody else, and it's honestly needed. Like, we need that perspective of, hey, like, I'm not doing this because for glory. I'm not doing this because, I just want to be over people. Like, this is something this is like a disease, basically, that she's dealing with. And when you see it from that, you're able to see the Compound V and just being a Supe from a much more compassionate perspective with Camiko. And I think you need that, because when you see it with everybody else, it's just like, look at these really powerful people being much more powerful beings, entities, flexing their power over everybody else. And Camiko is not like that. It's just like, I really don't want to do this. There's a much more altruistic method to her powers and how she uses them. So I think Camiko is needed going forward. I think we just continue to watch her grow as a liberated human being, right? Somebody who can make her own decisions, who can act, whether, violently or non-violently, for the right reasons. And I think she's like the best. Huey lost that this season. Camiko is the best, like, moral compass for the show. And I think that's her best trait.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. She really, like, Frank, you made a good point about how now, she chose to go back to the Compound V. So she is definitely like an empowered person, not just a superpowered person, but an empowered person. And Tristan, I think you're right. She's, I didn't think about the Arya Stark thing. That's a great analogy. That would have been a really cool way to, especially like if Homelander had like got his hands on Frenchie, that would have been a perfect thing for her to come in and make that save. But that could have happened. I mean, given that everything happened in the tower, that could definitely happen. And speaking of the tower, let's talk about the final battle, because that was like 30 minutes of like just insanity. I mean, it was just
epic.
It's like
epic.
The way it started, it was just so like casual. Like they Butcher. How did it start? Did Homelander walk in? Well, Homelander's there, of course. It's there at the tower. And
so
Butcher,
Homelander's, he's there.
Tell me.
So Homelander's there. He's watching old archival footage of Soldier Boy. I'm assuming what's D-Day, because we've been told to believe that Soldier Boy was there when they stormed Normandy, and the line of these guys, they're the real heroes, which is something that Homelander says. He kind of chuckles at that. But behind him enters Butcher, Soldier Boy, and Queen Maeve, and the greeting of scorched earth between Homelander and Butcher's exchange, because the whole idea is that they were going to face off at some point, as what we were kind of told in the very beginning of this season. And now that Soldier Boy is in the mix, it's kind of like, well, Homelander is like, well, I'm your son, we're a family, and that's kind of all I've ever wanted. By the way, enter Ryan. Here's your grandson. You have all of us. We have each other. You think it's this really sweet moment, I guess, in a weird way, that, Soldier Boy is going to change sides. And like what we talked about earlier, Soldier Boy ultimately says that Homelander is a disappointment because he cares about stupid stuff like attention, and he's weak, and that pisses off Homelander. And so they're about to start getting into a scuffle. And even Ryan actually uses his lasers to take out, quote unquote, Soldier Boy. Like, were y'all expecting Ryan to showcase his powers in any kind of fashion during this whole exchange?
Yeah, I figured we'd see something. I mean, if he's going to be there, he's going to do something. I mean, that didn't surprise me. Just like the way the fight kind of broke down, that's what I thought was really kind of creative with it. How you had, like you said, Ryan breaks it up. You have Maeve, you have Butcher and Soldier Boy trying to take out Homelander. Then Ryan takes out Soldier Boy, and then we kind of pair off with Butcher. Then because Soldier Boy then hit like Ryan, knocked him into like a shelf or whatever, and then Butcher turns against Soldier Boy. Then we got Maeve 1-on-1 against Homelander, which you obviously got like you have Wonder Woman versus Superman. You have that kind of battle going on.
Well, that only happens after Butcher and Soldier Boy use their Homelander.
Homelander, yeah.
Use their laser, whatever.
They briefly
on
team
Soldier
up.
Boy. They briefly team up, look at each other, and then it's like, all right, you deal with him. I got to go deal with Ryan. And then Maeve's like, hey, asshole. Wham.
But then just the fighting, like to watch like Soldier Boy like ragdoll, Annie and Camiko and Butcher. He throws Butcher through the desk on the VNN or the Vought News Studios, and then he takes a shield like he's gonna do like the Captain America thing or the I guess it's the other the Winter Soldier, Captain America, and the Falcon the Winter Soldier thing, and then we get the save from Annie and MM come in. It's just like it's a free for all. I mean, and it's all happening right there in the studio. Frank, what are your thoughts on that final battle?
I just knew someone was gonna lose their head. With all the laser beaming and all the ragdolling, I just figured someone was gonna take somebody out. The Ryan aspect is what I was more intrigued on. I think I'm not sure if you said it, Justin or Tristan, how he fastly attached to Homelander, and I think this is my prediction. I've been 0 for 100 so far, but my prediction is that he takes out Homelander in a serious finale. I think he's going to be the one, Sins of the Father. He's going to be the one that takes out Homelander towards the end. But I was really concerned. I thought Ryan was either going to take out Soldier Boy or take out one of the boys, because his powers are still pretty unstable. He hasn't quite learned how to hone everything. So I was stressed from that standpoint. Like, man, he's going to take somebody out like he did his own mama. But the fighting scenes were just they were so hectic and so fast paced. It had me on the edge of my seat the whole time. I can't wait to see, what next season brings as far as like this new faction between Homelander and his son. But no, it was exquisite. I loved it.
So Tristan, what was your favorite moment or maybe your standout moment from that kind of final battle?
Well, I have 3.
Okay.
Well, I have 3 thoughts. I'll say. First thought about Ryan is it's time to shit or get off the pot, little man. Like, he gotta do something. I was like, I'm sorry, do something. Second thought was Maeve versus Homelander. Maeve was getting with Homelander. Like Maeve, she brought it. And I think she's kind of been waiting all season for that. Like she's been seeing like Homelander's vulnerable. He can be bruised. He can't be scared. Like he's not unflappable with everybody. So May versus Homelander was a great undercard. I thought she was putting the brakes on him at a certain point. My last point was Starlight. Who knew? Because every time she even threatened her powers throughout the season, like everybody just kind of looked at her like, "Shut the fuck up."
Right.
Like, every time she put her eyes on, it was like, "Sweetheart, I will kill you really quickly." So to see her really just kind of fuck shit up with the added light resource lets me know between her, Camiko, and maybe Maeve, maybe that's the big 3 for next season. I think all 3 of them together are actually going to be the ones to take out Homelander. Starlight showed me a lot in the finale. So
hashtag girls get it done.
Hey,
from season 2. There you go.
I think Maeve had to be taken off the board a little bit. Maybe not killed, but she had to be taken out in some type of way because you need Annie to step up, and you can't have Annie step up with Maeve there, always willing to save and help out. So those are my thoughts on that finale, that final scene.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point because I think that Annie might be the one to take out Homelander, because now we see that she can fly. She has super strength. She can fly now, and she has some form of like laser eyes. So
Well, hold on.
Right.
I want to talk about that a little bit, because
What do you
she can fly. The added resources of all the light, the energy, because without any of that, she can't use her eyes. She can't do any of that, because Huey was, maxing out everything from the control center with everything in the studio. So I don't think she can necessarily do it on her own unless she's like juiced up, if you will.
Maybe not, but I mean, in the right circumstances, she has a similar power set to Homelander. I guess that's what she's not exactly the same level, but she's, I mean, you look at the boys now, like the boys are much stronger than they were last season. Like, no question.
Well, they're much stronger.
I think
it's best that she doesn't have like complete supreme power.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes her, that's what humanizes her.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's best.
Well, and I think too, because she's always wanted to be a real superhero. She wasn't about the marketing or the points or the attention. She wanted to do a job, and she wanted to do it her way, I guess you could say. And so now that she's completely abandoned the Starlight name, the costume, Vought in general, and is, teaming up with the boys. I mean, now the boys are actual two Supes stronger, or a Supe stronger, because obviously Camiko. But now that Butcher shouldn't be taking Compound V, because who knows if that's actually going to stop him, given his new time frame of life. Annie's for sure not going to let Huey take any of that stuff anymore, and I don't think any one of them is really willing to take Compound V unless the story changes come season 4. But she's definitely an asset without question to the boys, because she does bring in that strength and that source of power. I love the fact that Huey in a way was able to save her, because that's kind of all that he's wanted to do. He wanted to save Annie, and he juiced her up, if you will. And she took out Soldier Boy really quickly, and then swoop in MM. I love the fact that this season had a lot to do with MM and his storyline, and just finding out why he felt so strongly about Soldier Boy, and him being able to use the knockout gas on Soldier Boy to, pretty much take him out of the game, right? And say, this is for my family, fuck you, kind of thing. So I thought that was incredible. Frank.
What's the question? Was there a question?
Just wanted your thoughts.
Oh, my thoughts.
Like, just MM, his season, and like how he, talk about, like, obviously he talks to his daughter about what happened in the previous episode when he knocked Todd out, and just elaborate on MM's season.
Yeah, well, I mean, with MM, I mean, the PTSD from losing most of his family from that one night of Soldier Boy throwing the car through the apartment. I mean, that's some shit that he has to carry, carry for the rest of his life. Waking up his grandfather, and that guilt, and be able to somewhat, I don't know if it's closure, because Soldier Boy's back down under in stasis, but being able to take somewhat control of his life, and being able to put it into Soldier Boy temporarily. I think more importantly, being able to be absolutely unequivocally vulnerable to his daughter, and like laying out everything to his daughter, like, look, I'm not okay. This is what I've been going through. But I'm your father. I still love you. But this is going to be a day-to-day struggle for me. And so I think him being vulnerable with his daughter was a beautiful thing. Him knocking out his wife's new husband was dope as hell. And the memes I saw from that was crazy as hell too. But to see all of that come to play for Mother's Milk, I think he's gonna be a primetime player in season 4. And more importantly, to stay to his virtues. I think in season 3, when you see Huey kind of waver, his fears of not being strong enough to protect, Starlight or anybody, Butcher, going off the hinge a little bit. throughout the whole season, Mother's Milk was kind of like, this is why I believe it's my virtues. I'm not swaying for my virtues as far as like taking Compound V and trying to level the playing field. Especially when the playing field looks really unleveled at one point when we thought Homelander and Soulja Boy might be, on the same team. Seeing that and seeing how he never wavered, I have none but pure respect for him. Him and Camiko were, to me, the MVPs of the season.
Yeah, MM was strong throughout. Go ahead, Tristan.
Oh, I'm just saying, like Eminem, his storyline kind of it rolls into like the bigger theme of like toxic masculine. Like each male on the show is dealing with some trauma, and the underlying message is like, if you don't deal with this trauma, it will resurface in some type of way, especially if you have like, superhuman powers and such. So like MM is dealing with the trauma from his childhood. That again is Huey, who's dealing with the insecurity that he feels dating a Supe who is just stronger. And as a man, how do you deal with being the established weaker one? Butcher, childhood trauma. Like MM, his storyline just fits in with everybody else. All the other trauma that the men on that show are just trying to overcome, and the ones who don't, that trauma and the stuff that comes with it just kind of engulfs them. Like the Deep is unsavable at this point. Like he's completely oblivious. He has no self-awareness. He has no place anywhere. Like there's nowhere where he feels like family. There's no family. His wife left. Homelander is the big brother who doesn't want him, who doesn't respect him, and he's just constantly trying to appease people and trying to show that he's more than what he is, which is a very vain, idiotic, B+ B-level superhero.
Yeah, it's interesting with, we talk about the Deep, and then you talk about somebody like A-Train, where it looks like A-Train, he's being confronted with all the things that have gone wrong in his life and all the things he's done. I mean, it seemed with his brother, where his brother's like, "Hey, I don't ever want to see you again. Don't come to my house. You killed this guy. I know you killed this guy, and you did it for you. And like, you've always been about you. Now it's, just don't come around here anymore." And I think in season 4, I think we're gonna see A-Train start to make that turn where he realizes he's got to do something. And I wonder if we're gonna see the Deep make get to that same point where he realizes, like, I'm just, I'm Homelander's puppet until he doesn't need me anymore. And there's that great line that Homelander told, the whole group, the seven that are left, which is like 3 or 4 people. He said, "Look, like Noir was more valuable to me than all of you put together, and obviously he killed him." And he's like, "Y'all are not my family. Remember that." So I just wonder, eventually, are we going to see all these characters team up against Homelander, and maybe with Ryan too? But I'd like to see. Hopefully, we see A-Train and Deep make that turn next year. Because if they don't make that turn, I mean, maybe the Deep is right, like you said. Maybe he's too far gone. But you got to think that A-Train, now that his brother has basically disowned him, what else does he have? Like nothing matters anymore. He's ruined, people's lives, and yeah, he has a new heart, and now he can use his power. But what's the next step for him, Brittany? What do you think?
It would be just horrible. He literally has a second lease on life, given that he has the heart of a fucking racist inside of him. But nonetheless, he's been given a second lease on life and has essentially lost everything. He lost his family. He is not in favor with Homelander because Homelander said, how could you kill your own kind? And A-Train's kind of looking at him like, the fuck, you just did the same thing, but somehow it's wrong that I did it. And
he did it twice. He did it
twice. Yeah, he did it twice. Exactly. So like, whatever. I mean, yes, A-Train has killed several times, but nonetheless, he has a second lease on life. I just hope this wouldn't be like a Jaime Lannister kind of story arc where you think he's going to go and do the right thing, and then at the last possible second, he's gonna revert back to exactly how Tristan's already shaking his head. He's like, nah, like no, this can't be
No,
it.
I'm mad you brought that up in the first place.
I'm sorry.
I had to think about season 8 of Game of Thrones.
I know. I'm sorry. It's the best like connection I can give.
It's a sore spot for all of us, honestly.
I know it really honestly is. Sorry, guys. But I would hate to see that happen. And again, this is where I will stand and die on this hill, that the writers and creators of this show know exactly what they're doing. They know their formula. They know the direction that they want to take these characters in. And I think with A-Train, it's he needs to stand up for himself. And if that ends up getting him killed, then fine, he can be that martyr or whatever, kind of like how Queen Maeve went out in a way, right? But the fact that, all right, you can have everything, you get the money, you can run again, you can do this and that, but you don't have your family. What now? Like, what now? So I just hope that his direction would actually pan out into something and actually mean much more than what it could be. Go ahead.
Do we get a Stan Edgar appearance in season 4?
For sure.
I was stunned he wasn't in the finale. I thought we'd see him somehow in the finale, but yeah, he's got to be back.
Does Ogre run for vice president now on the ballot? Is that, I guess my question is that in favor in the workings of Stan's plan, or is she doing her own planning here? Because I don't know what her goal is. So my question is, what is, in you guys' opinion, what is her goal? What is the end game for her?
I think she's going to take out Singer and be the presidential candidate. I mean, that was obviously the small favor that she needed from Homelander to take out the VP pick, which is what Homelander had Deep do, obviously. He's like, that's treason. He's like, oh, big word. Which was hilarious to me. But I think Victoria just wants it all. She wants to be top dog. She doesn't want anyone questioning her. And if she absolutely needs to, she literally will pop people's heads off. And I think that if she took out Edgar for her own personal gain, I don't think he's safe with her or around her. I would hope that we get Edgar back. I just don't know in what capacity. If he's going to try to take back his position with Vought again, I don't know.
So with her playing both sides, was that episode 7 when she was talking to Starlight about you help me, me help you? Was that more so of like putting a plan together in case Homelander goes rogue as well? Like, because like I feel like at some point Homelander and Victoria are gonna come to a head, like, because they both crave power, they both crave attention.
Oh, I thought you say they were gonna smash. Sorry.
No, but I feel like they both have this power, this hunger for power, and I feel like sooner or later it's gonna clash.
It's, I think there's definitely a team up in the future, because let's not forget that her daughter has taken Compound V. We don't know how her daughter is doing, if she survived, what kind of powers she now has. I mean, I'm kind of envisioning Vought's going to shift its position from being that of the 7 to being Homelander and his son. And they like take on the world, if you will. They are Vought. And I wouldn't be surprised if Victoria Newman would kind of position herself similar with her daughter. It's a big stretch, but I could potentially see that happening.
Well, they don't have any choice. Like, there is no more 7. So the 7 is done. I definitely think we see Stan Edgar. I think he plays a big role in season 4. Somebody has to be in control of Vought. It can't be Homelander. Can't be Ashley. So I definitely think he snakes his way back in. And I think season 4, the big plot of season 4, 1 is going to be Congressman Newman, with now Vice President candidate Newman, gunning for the presidency. And then I think Homelander and everybody else is kind of separating from Vought. and like we just have these different in it. We have Vought, we have Homelander, we have the boys, and we just have these different entities, you know, fighting for power, fighting to get rid of Supes, or fight for the, you know, imperialism of Supes. Like that, I think that's where the conflict is going to be.
And I think we might have some new Supes join the show, because as we saw this, you know, we've had the 7 for a couple of years, and that's kind of like the Justice League. This year we're introduced to Payback, which is kind of like the Avengers. And I think that in the future we might have an X-Men style group called the G-Men, that's what they're called in the comics, because there's a boys spinoff show that's coming out, I think before season 4. It's called Varsity, which is about it's like a college age kind of soup show where it's kind of like an X-Men, like where there's like a, you know, Professor Xavier kind of home where they go to, and that's what's next. And according to the showrunner Eric Kripke, he said that the storylines from season 3 are going to continue in this spinoff show, and then whatever happens in the spinoff show, those storylines will be picked up in season 4. So season 4, we might not get season 4 until 2024. I'm not sure, but this Varsity spinoff show is what's up next. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, they've got to add some new blood as far as the Supes, just like how season 2 gave us Stormfront, season 3 gave us Soldier Boy. They've got to bring in something else as the, you know, as kind of like the big bad, or like the season level boss, you know, until we get to obviously Homelander, or, you know, like I said, Newman becoming president will obviously be a huge thing in the future if that's what happens. But eventually you got to take out Homelander. That's probably going to be in season 5, or if they go to season 6.
So on that discussion of if there's going to be a season 5 or season 6, because we know we're getting a season 4, that much has already been established.
Yep.
How many more seasons do you think we'll actually get, given Butcher's timeline? Because the fact that he's taken the Compound V more than 3 times, let's say 5-6 times at this point.
Right.
He's been given 12 to 18 months to live. Mm-hmm. Now, do you think, for one, he's going to make it to even 12 months? Or is he going to continue taking the Compound V, and it's going to shorten his life that much more?
I think he gets his hands on the permanent version of the Compound V. I think he becomes a full out Supe, and I think he dies a Supe in whatever last season the boys ends at.
So do you think that so for sure season 4, but do you think it's going to go beyond a season 4, or?
I could see 6 seasons. I could see that. So I think the storyline of the presidential storyline with Victoria, I think the Varsity show is going to play a part 2 of extending the show a little bit longer as well. But I think we get 3 more seasons, 4, 5, and 6.
All right, Tristan, what do you think?
I don't think the show goes past season 5. Yeah, it's the perfect time to end, honestly. And I forgot what the second question was. Butcher. I think he makes it to the end of season 5.
Yeah, I mean, because I only argue this just because it is like Karl Urban's show. He's also like a producer on the show. I'm thinking they're not going to like kill him and then the show's going to go on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's his show. But I think for sure we'll get a 5th season. I'm not sure if we'll get a 6th. I can't say that word. A number 6.
Yeah, right.
But I for sure think we'll get a 5th season. Justin, what do you think?
No, I mean, Eric Kripke, like I said, I've read, he said that he predicted it'd be 5 seasons. Of course, he said the same thing about Supernatural, and Supernatural went 15 seasons. He only was a part of it for 5 seasons. I don't think it's going to go 15, but I can see, you know, much like what happened with Game of Thrones, where, you know, Game of Thrones, those showrunners, they were ready to be done with it. And HBO is like, no, we like this show. We like people, you know, paying to watch our programming. So
we like money.
Right. And so I could see Amazon being like, yeah, well, let's continue this on. Now, you know, there's, you know, with adding spinoffs to it is going to give it some life. My thing is with, as far as Butcher making it to the final season, if that's season 5, is really how much time we have in between season 3 and season 4. Because between season 2 and 3 was like for what in the storyline they said was about a year. Like they even say that in the
Right.
descriptions and stuff. So I
Right.
wonder how soon this spinoff show starts, and then in what timeline proximity is it to season 4 starting? Because
Mhm.
Butcher has only so long to live. I agree with Frank. I think there's gonna be some kind of compound V as like the magic elixir that solves his cancer, whatever issue he has. Um, and maybe he becomes a full blown soup, and then he dies fighting Homelander or something in the end. But I do think we're going to be guaranteed for 5 seasons. I feel like they're going to want to do more just because it's so successful. And here's my tip for Amazon. Not that they need my help, but for future seasons, just give us 1 episode a week. Like that 3 episode drop that they did this season, last season. I understand why they do that, but this show does not need that. This show has the goods. It's just like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones doesn't do that. Game of Thrones, I mean, HBO is different. They do weekly anyway with everything. But when you have a show,
Game of Thrones doesn't exist anymore, Justin. Just kidding.
House of the Dragon's about to start up.
That's fair. That's fair.
Late August or something. We're going to talk all about it
Late
for
August,
sure.
yeah.
But when you have a show this good and this action packed and story packed, and there's just so much to it, 1 episode a week is plenty. And I think instead of like The Boys being a hot topic for 6 weeks, The Boys could be a hot topic for 2 weeks. Like compare that to like Stranger Things, which I've never watched Stranger Things, but I know it's super popular and people love it. But in a couple of weeks, no one's gonna be talking about Stranger Things. And they just dropped it all, and then they brought this. I think they split up the seasons or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Like you only have a short shelf life when you do that binge model drop. With the way The Boys is doing, people are talking about this show, and more people are watching this show now than watched in season 1. And it's because they're spacing it out, and they're giving people like us and all kinds of people to talk about this show, and it just generates more interest. And so my thing is, in the future, just give us 1 episode. And believe me, it's enough for this show.
I think another great thing that Kripke and those guys do is they really make it. They entrench the show throughout the years, throughout the whole year, like vignettes of like little commercials, and like they make it like the CNN, Fox News style of 24-hour news production with like little fake interviews and fake and fake mock casts and
that Cameron Coleman show, whatever.
Yeah,
he's got like his little thing.
It keeps the show like beating throughout the whole hiatus term before next season. So I like that about that show a lot.
Well, and then just learning about the spinoff show Varsity, that storyline, or what we've seen in season 3 storyline, is going to continue into that spinoff show, and then whatever storyline from that spinoff goes into season 4. Like the continuity behind it all is brilliant. I feel like, because it's not going to be disjointed. It's going to all make sense. And I think Justin obviously is correct in saying that we're going to get some new Supes that are going to come into season 4 of The Boys, probably from this university thing. Will the 7 be rebuilt? Who knows? I mean, technically it's just Homelander, the Deep, and A-Train. If we do get a new Black Noir, because it is a mantle, that's 4 right there. They need 3 more people. So who knows? I'm curious too with Ashley, because of the fact that Ashley and Annika from Crime Analysis, or whatever that little Angelfish division bullshit that Deep called it, they did see the footage that Maeve is, of course, very much alive. She was not killed in her fall and whatever you want to call it, explosion from Soldier Boy. She was just depowered, and they deleted the footage. It's like, why would you delete that footage? Are you just that scared of Homelander's wrath, or are you slowly like trying to pull yourself out of the situation? You know what I mean? So curious to see. Go ahead.
They had already like declared Maeve like a national hero in response to saving everybody. So they gave her a whole memorial. She had a plot. She had a whole tombstone and everything. So like they had to delete that.
Well, and it's, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because I mean, thinking about in her memorial video how she, pretty much gave the ultimate sacrifice, and they labeled Soldier Boy as a Russian radical. I mean, for years he was dead to the world. Vought and everyone around them said it, he's dead. And then like casually, oh, Soldier Boy is a Russian radical, and Maeve like gave her life to save us all. Yay. Like no one's going to question that. No one's going to question about the story of Soldier Boy, and we're just going to like sweep that under the rug. I mean, why wouldn't anyone wonder if Maeve's really dead or not? You know what I'm saying? Like they memorialized him as well.
Well, people are stupid. I mean, I think we've seen that
fair.
throughout. I think we have seen that throughout the whole season, like the rallies, the hate towards Starlight, the trafficking of children, from like people believe in that shit, and then like, and even the last scene of when Ryan gets attacked and Homelander blows the guy's face off, like they're cheering, like people are sheep, and it's so. It's so synonymous with what's going on in the political climate today. And I think whatever you feed these people, confirmation bias is always going to rule. So
yeah, that's for sure. I mean, even the storm chasers, whatever they're called, they're still out there. Stormfront's been dead for quite some time, and they're still rallying behind her and everything. It's yeah, you're right. People are sheep. It's just sad.
Well, and also with that final scene with Homelander killing that protester, they show Ryan and he kind of smiles. So that's
that apple did not fall too far from the tree, now did he?
Right. So we might see an evil Superman and an evil Superboy in season 4, maybe.
Will there be a super dog?
A Crypto, but yeah, different name.
Becca's in heaven right now, pulling the ultimate SpongeBob SquarePants. All right, man, I'm gonna head out now. Like, all her worst like nightmares and like all comes to fruition now with her son. It took one season for all that to unravel with Ryan. That's the funny thing about it.
Yeah.
I mean the role reversal from last season where Ryan leaves with Butcher into season 2. Then this season he leaves with Homelander. It's kid,
and his powers are growing. He can fly now. He can fly and he's got some super strength. He's got the laser beams. He can throw a baseball very far. It's only a matter of time to where he could potentially have full capacity of his powers. I mean, in a year's time, he was able to get to where he is today, and that's a little frightening. Not gonna lie, just a little frightening.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like this whole time, I thought he was just the mere sight of Homelander I thought would make him sick. But the whole time you find out that he thought Homelander was mad at him for killing his mom.
Right.
That's what got me. Like, you see this man do all these evil things. You saw how afraid your mother was of this man, and for you to like have no fear towards him as far as like what he's capable of. That's the scary part.
Saying the thing that he really needed or wanted to hear about, accidents happen. They happen to the people and the things that we really love. But no matter what, I am here for you. I love you no matter what, which is essentially, Butcher never said those words to Ryan. And Butcher had his reservations, of course, because he told Becca, I'm not fit to be a father. And we obviously learned why. All his past trauma that Tristan's, spoken on and what have you. But in Butcher's own weird way, he was still trying to protect Ryan by distancing himself from him. But that's not what Ryan needed. Ryan's a boy. He needs that structure. He needs that parent. And that's why he was okay with being with Grace Mallory. And Homelander is still like, you call her Aunt Grace, but like, she's not your family. I'm your family. And that's what Ryan wants, much like what Homelander wants and needs, kind of try to break that cycle. But really, we're just creating more psycho-ness out there.
Do we think this is the end of Soldier Boy? Is he forever going to be under this sleep, or do you think he comes back in the future seasons?
Tristan, what do you think about that?
I think Soldier Boy has one more task one more objective, which is to aid in the killing or depowering of Homelander. I think that's his final thing before he gets blown to smithereens himself. But I think that's where we see him. Maybe he has like a 2-episode arc in season 4 or season 5 whenever he comes back. But I think there's nothing else for Soldier Boy to do. There's nothing else.
I mean, if we want to kind of relate it to that of Bucky, Bucky's like, I did all the things. I was triggered and I hurt people. I need to go back under. And then he was brought back out because he was really needed. So I agree with Tristan that this isn't the end of Soldier Boy. At least I hope not. I don't think Maggie is in the chat today, but I'm pretty sure she was devastated to see Jensen Ackles being put back on the ice. And not gonna lie, I'm actually now a fan of his. I never watched Supernatural or any of his other stuff, but I'm a fan of his. And learned that he's a Texas boy as well. All right, I'm with it. So that's cool. I would hope to see him in the future if it's that final showdown or leading up to the final showdown, like ultimate final showdown. Yeah, I think he could do some serious damage again if he's controlled. But I don't know how one would control Soldier Boy at all.
I wonder if he can be killed, because he's like got this nuclear kind of power in him.
I feel like it would be a translucent way of having to kill him.
Right. Maybe Termite they had to have Termite 2 get involved or something.
Termite 2.
Yeah.
Mini Termite.
I really enjoyed the character, and I'm glad I'm glad the door's not closed on that character, because I thought that was first of all, the actor was great, Jensen Ackles. I'm a little bit more familiar with him than you are, but I didn't watch a ton of Supernatural. But he's apparently working on some kind of project with DC. So live action deal. He's done DC work before. He's been the voice of Red Hood, and he's been the voice of Batman in some of the animated movies. So he's no stranger to superhero content. Of course, he was on Smallville season 4. I'm a huge Smallville fan. So he's been in this space, but his version of this like evil Captain America was really cool. And I think he was probably like the highlight of the season for me, just because it was such a, like I said, the fact that you got to see like a version of Captain America fight a version of Superman, like, and then like Captain America is like Superman's dad, which I would totally blew me away. Like I never would have thought that. Like that was such a cool, storyline for me, because I'm a fan of obviously both characters and lots of characters. But I'm glad that we'll eventually see him again. Like Tristan said, probably at the very end, he'll be a surprise return to either stop. I mean, the thing is, he's in the hands of the CIA now, right? So,
it appears that way, because Grace was overseeing him going back in ice. So
I wonder, will the CIA have to use him as a weapon, maybe against the boys, or maybe against whatever's left of Homelander's group and Vought? What do you think, Tristan?
I think between the finale of season 3 and whenever Soldier Boy is utilized again as like this big nuclear weapon, we have to see. Obviously, everybody has an arc. Homelander, I think, has a backwards arc where he's falling from grace kind of rapidly. So I think he has to be seen as the ultimate villain, not just by like this small faction of people, but like everybody. We all have to see Homelander as villain, and then that's when I think Soldier Boy gets kind of brought back out of ice. But that has to happen. Like there can only be like at best like a very small faction of people who are fans of Homelander, right? Before we get to like that nuclear option, which is Soldier Boy. But that has to happen between now and the end of the show.
One of the CIA pulls like this whole like, how like Bucky was under mind control. I wanted the CIA to experiment the same way of like using some type of like mind control or some type of like leash to like control Soldier Boy to take out, Homelander or Ryan or whoever.
They'll probably plug in like one of those earpieces and then play that Russian pop song, and then he's gonna get all pissed off and rawr, whatever. I have no idea. But that would be the only way that to actually, I guess, in a way, control him. But who knows? It'd be fascinating to see him come back, and then just like at what capacity he comes back. But to answer your original question, Justin, I have no idea how one could kill Soldier Boy unless it's from inside, and we have a repeat of Translucent.
I mean, I think Frenchie might be the best option for how to kill Soldier Boy. I don't know if he'll get his chance or if they'll meet again. But do y'all have any like final thoughts as far as either predictions for next season or other things about season 3 you want to say? Because I have one other question, but I want to get y'all's final thoughts on this season before I go on. So, Frank, any predictions for next season or any final thoughts you want to give us for season 3?
I think the daddy issues of like of all these characters are they're so similar, and that's the one thing that brings them all together in a way, not together, but like they all have in common. You know, from Frenchie to Mother's Milk with his father and grandfather to Butcher to Homelander not having a father to Ryan, Huey with his, I haven't seen Huey's dad since season 2, so like all these different dimensions with the either mental abuse, physical abuse, or just lack of like just a male role model. I think it's very impressive how all these different characters have that same type of weakness and downfall and like social defunk of their personality.
Brittany, what about you? What about your final thoughts or predictions for next season?
I think overall, this season blew the past seasons out of the water. I mean, we talked about this earlier in one of our other pods about how every episode just became the new favorite. I think my favorite for sure from this season is Herogasm. Not for those reasons, but just the big showdown, the initial. Y'all need it. Mature people, come on, let's go. But for the reasons of seeing the first encounter between Soldier Boy and Homelander, and just that whole encounter was really incredible to watch, because it seemed like it was going to be the end for several of these characters, and of course that wasn't going to happen. But this season, I thought, was just 10 out of 10. I literally have no idea what to expect for the upcoming season or seasons. Let's hope there's going to be at least another 2. But whatever or however many seasons we're going to get, it's going to be jam-packed with action. It's going to be bloody. It's going to blow our minds. Hopefully not literally, because Victoria Newman. But there's just buckle up, right? So, Tristan, what say you?
For me, Starlight. Like, I think Starlight is she's like that lottery pick that comes in, that gets drafted to a team full of like veterans, and she's Jonathan Kaminga. It's like, all right, it's time for you to step up, and I think she's the key to all of this. I think she's the key to the entire show, like just setting the events of that universe right? Like, if we're gonna have Supes, we need to have a healthy relationship between Supes and humans. We need to have, like, there has to be some like morality tie in the way that like Supes behave themselves, and I think Annie is the key to that. I think she's the key, or one of the keys to stopping Homelander. I think it's her. Like, I think season 4 I think that's where she like makes a big step up.
Okay, so hopefully she won't be traded for Kevin Durant, is what you're saying. Like, not like Jonathan Kaminga might be. No, I'm kidding. My last thing, as far as predictions, this is kind of an easy one, but I think we're going to see Ryan in some kind of a super suit next season. I think that'll be something, just a silly thing to see. But my last question for y'all is, we've talked about this season, how much we love this season, and there's so much superhero content out there. Now let's just focus. Not movies. Let's just focus on TV shows. Do you think this was the best season of a superhero show ever? Now, I know like this year we had Peacemaker. Peacemaker was a very good show. It's not as good as The Boys in my mind. It was a very good show. There's been plenty of, the Netflix, Marvel shows. Obviously Disney Plus has their shows, but I don't think those are going to crack our list. And and there's all kinds of other superhero content out there. But was this the best season of a superhero show ever? Brittany, what do you say?
To be honest, I don't watch a whole lot of like television in general, so let alone like superhero television shows. I think the final episode of Miss Marvel is about to drop on Disney Plus this week. That show's actually been quite entertaining. I very much have surprisingly enjoyed it. Yes, I would say it is, only because I haven't watched a lot of other shows to compare it to. I haven't watched Peacemaker yet. I know y'all have talked about it and said it was unexpected, but
Right. But you have
really
watched
good.
Daredevil. Well, you watched Daredevil. Did you like
Oh, you know
Yeah.
what? Yeah, I really did like Daredevil. But at the same time, it's apples and oranges.
Mhm.
I want to say, because the amount of violence that we see in The Boys is something that you won't see with Daredevil even prior to joining Disney Plus. Frank can probably speak on this more than I can, just because he's watched all those shows like Punisher, Luke Cage, and all those. I haven't watched all those yet. But with Daredevil, I mean, that was really good. I enjoyed that, but I still would probably say The Boys is like number one in my realm.
Frank, what do you think?
Oh, are we including animated superhero shows too, or just live action?
Yeah, no, you could throw animated in there.
Yeah, because that last season of the original X-Men from the 90s was pretty legit. That Phoenix Saga season, bro, was pretty fire. That was what, 94, 95.
I was like 5 or 6 when that was happening, so I don't remember it.
No, yeah, because what it meant, like, in the grand, because that was the first time we ever saw a live Phoenix Saga from the comic books on TV. But I would have to say, yeah, the boys. The level of violence, the fast pace. There's not a slow moment on the show. Like in 3 seasons, it's been like a Corvette topping at 170. 170. It's been fast paced. The deaths are creative. Like the gore is creative. The fight scenes are dope. So I have season 3 of The Boys 1, season 3 of the X-Men animated series 2, Daredevil season 3, 3rd.
Okay. Tristan, what do you think?
I don't even think it's close. I don't no. Granted, I haven't watched a ton of like superhero shows, but like from what I've seen, I don't, like you say, apples to oranges. I think it's apples to oranges because we've never seen anything like The Boys, nor will we ever. Because the thing that makes The Boys great, the thing that makes The Boys head and shoulders above every other show is the thing that makes it great in the first place, which is tackling the inherent ridiculousness of having superheroes. The reason why The Boys is always going to be better than those shows is because the concept of having enhanced individuals be basically the last line of defense, in some cases the first line of defense, against these like really hard challenges is stupid. It's completely ridiculous, and there's no scenario in real life to where if we had enhanced individuals that it would end well. Like, because it can't. Like, we have people who are just fucking tall, and like they take that privilege of being tall and like, you know, like just that alone is its own brand of like evil. Like,
Right.
Listen, I agree with that. Okay, I stand 4'11". I agree.
A 7-footer today is basically a suit. You know what I'm saying?
Fuck
Yeah.
you, dude. No, I'm just kidding.
People use their size, they use their height, they use their money, they use their intelligence. Like any type of advantage they have, they use that in horrible ways in real life. So if we had enhanced individuals, it would be The Boys, because everybody's fucked up in some type of way. Everybody has this trauma, childhood trauma, things that we're dealing with. People have just basic narcissism, and then you add basically compound V or whatever, or fucking kryptonite, or whatever the fuck, like, and you're going to have fucked off individuals. This is not Marvel, to where these people are for the most part inherently good, right? And you give them like these superhuman strength, and like it only enhances the good. That's not what this is, and that wouldn't be real life. So the boys, the whole concept, when Frank first told me about the boys, the thing that sold me before I watched it was the concept. I'm like, oh, I can get behind that. Because yeah, superheroes that is stupid. Like that would never work in real life. It would never work. So yeah, I just watched the Terminal List on Amazon.
I watched it too. Yep.
And again, Chris Pratt basically plays a soldier with not he kind of has enhanced. He's so trained that he has enhanced abilities, and that became something you couldn't put that back in the bottle. Like once he was set free and he was on his mission, you couldn't put that back in the bottle. Same thing would happen with enhanced individuals in our real life. So yes, The Boys is the best iteration of superhero viewing or superhero entertainment because it's the only one that tells the truth about it. And that's my rant.
No, I totally agree with you. I think there's only one show that I think that kind of compares, and that's the Watchmen HBO show. I don't know if y'all seen that season yet. That's a solid, it's a one-off show. So it's only one season. I think it came out in 2019. It's a pretty good superhero show.
Invincible as well.
Invincible also. Yeah, Invincible's great. Yeah. And I think we're going to get Invincible season 2 maybe by the end of this year. So, I mean, that
Sadly, could not get into Invincible. I tried.
Oh, no,
even with that cliffhanger of the first episode, I was like, no, not for me.
And like Omni-Man, he's more superpowered than Homelander. So
no, I get that.
It's
I
even
think
crazier.
He's more ruthless, I think, than Homelander.
Yeah.
Homelander still kind of struggles with that. I want to be loved and I want a family bullshit. I get that.
But then his son is like an amalgamation of like Spider-Man, but with like superpowers. Like it's like Superboy, but Spider-Man kind of like though he's a teenage kid. I don't know. It's a great show. I can't wait for season 2 of that. But to just talk about The Boys for a quick second, the thing that The Boys does so well is they play off of what we know about superheroes. And at this point, we know a ton about superheroes because superhero stuff is everywhere. And they parody Marvel and they parody DC and they do these things, but because they take what we know about these characters and they parody them, but then they enhance them because they don't have to play. They don't have to play to like if you're Marvel or DC, you have to play to somebody who's 5 years old, who's 25 years old, who's 50 years old. You know what I'm saying? This show doesn't play to the little kids, doesn't play to the older people. It's right like in that, prime of your life kind of like audience. And like they don't hold any, no punches are pulled. It's all, the show's all gas, no breaks. It's relentless. And like Tristan said, it's like real life. If people had superpowers, The Boys would be real life. I mean, especially if they were like owned by a company, like imagine if Amazon had superpowered people. Like, come on, like how would it be any different than Vought? It would be the same thing.
Dude, they must. How else do you explain 2-day shipping?
You're right. That's somehow they've tricked their Homelander into just delivering packages for him. But if he ever goes rogue, we're done. That's why I keep a Prime membership because you never know.
Exactly.
Don't want to piss off Bezos.
No.
But no, I mean, The Boys is such a great show. And like I said, I think it's the best iteration of superhero content ever. And I love the MCU. I love a lot of DC stuff, but like what this show has done, because they can do whatever they want. They don't have to, like I said, they don't have to play to little kids or older people or whatever. I think it's the best. And I think like, episodes 5, 6, and 7 are 3 of the best hours of TV I've ever seen. And I don't know that I'll ever see anything better than that. And the finale was very strong and I really enjoyed it. But those, like I said, 5, 6, and 7 were just so good that, I mean, I can only compare it to a show like Succession or like to Game of Thrones whenever it was like the best show in the world. Like that's what this show is. And I mean, it's an Emmy nominated show. I'm sure that season 3 is probably going to win awards. And, I can't wait for season 4. And now that we've got this Varsity show, which is apparently it's coming in 2023. I mean, this was the year of The Boys, honestly. I can't, I don't know what to say. Do y'all have any final thoughts?
I would love to see Eric Kripke and his team like get a hands on like Deadpool or like one of these more like violent superheroes, like Punisher. Like I think he would do he would do so great with those characters, and I would love for Amazon to get those rights. I mean, they probably won't because I mean Disney has those rights now, but the way he writes and the way he can put together storylines and storyboard stuff. I mean, he will be a great addition to like a R-rated version of Marvel or DC or something.
I'm still waiting on the boys' version of Thor. Like, actually, bring me a god. Bring me a god who wields some sort of weapon. I need to see that type of version.
It's gonna be like his dick as his hammer.
No. We already had love sausage. Love sausage. I don't want to see that. That's not what I'm talking about. No.
You're gonna see. I'm telling you.
No. Drew in the chat says he wants to see like a Venom type persona. All right, I can get down with that.
Well, The Boys is a Sony property. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they could ever convince Marvel to let The Boys cross over with a Venom or a Morbius or like maybe Spider-Man or something.
Spider-Man.
I don't think Spider-Man ever, but those other characters, that'd be really interesting to see that even just for like a cameo kind of thing.
Oh, goodness. I mean, we already kind of had like a real brief Daredevil-like character when he was training inside Vought Tower and Homelander like claps on his ears and the dude's like bleeding out of his ears, and it's just like, okay, that was that was before I started watching Daredevil, and I love me some Charlie Cox. That man is redonkulous. I cannot wait to see him again as Daredevil, and I'm ready for it. That's just sidebar. That Daredevil ranks behind The Boys like immediately. Just saying.
Yeah. And there's a Martian Manhunter kind of character in The Boys universe. His name is Jack from Jupiter, I believe. So we might see that guy come into play because have we seen aliens in this show yet? We really haven't.
No, not really.
Mm-mm. I mean, you thought Victoria Newman was an alien.
I thought she was an alien. I didn't think she was a soup. I thought she was an alien. So
yeah. I
was wrong about that. But and also, what about the girl from season 2 with the shaved head?
She got into the car after the mass break from Sacred Grove or whatever it was called.
I wonder if we're going to see her in this Varsity show. I think we might, or maybe she's referenced or something because she was someone who was experimented on, and that kind of sounds like an X-Men kind of thing.
Could be.
I don't know. Anyway,
if we get like a rogue type character, or Cyclops or a Storm. Yeah. Who knows?
Well, what a season it was. We really enjoyed talking about it. And Brittany, how can people find us on social media?
They can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All you have to do is search The Watchers in the Basement or use the handle at Watchers Basement. Also, we are on the road to 100, everyone. As of today, we are at 70 subscribers here on YouTube. Help us get to 100 subscribers. It would mean a lot to us. So help grow our audience by using Watchers Basement when tweeting, Facebooking, Instagramming, you name it. Get the word out there. And also, like I said, don't forget to subscribe if you already haven't. Hit that like button. Also leave a comment. We appreciate everyone who has supported us throughout our journey. And last but not least, if you're not into video podcasts, we are also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, thanks to Anchor.fm. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating. We'd really appreciate it. And back to you, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany. So, Tristan, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. First time guest for us. Hope to have you back again.
Hopefully. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so for Tristan, for Tristan, for Frank, for Brittany, this is Justin saying we'll see you next week, or we'll see you maybe later in the week when we review Thor, Love and Thunder. So, see you then.
Nice.